Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Spaghetti Westerns podcast. I'm Tom Betts, your host, and this is season 9, episode 3, overall number 143. Hopefully, we've got some things of interest to talk about today for you. We're going to talk about the history of the Spaghetti Westerns. That's going to be $100,000 for Ringo. Who are those guys? We're going to talk about Alfred Thomas. I'm sure you don't know who he is, but you'll know when you see him. Whatever became of, we're going to talk about Mike Marshall. He starred in 2 spaghetti westerns and was a voice in a third. The film of the week is Return of Ringo with Montgomery Wood. I've got an autograph of the week, book of the week. Got some posters. Got a huge French poster. I hope I can get on screen. And then we're going to talk about the CDs and the albums for the 2 Ringo films. Then we'll finish things up with news of the week. I've got my Richard Harrison T-shirt on in honor of $100,000 for Ringo. So let's get going with the history of the spaghetti westerns and $100,000 for Ringo. Okay, $100,000 for Ringo. That's a 65 Italian-Spanish co-production. The Italian title is $100,000 per Ringo. The Spanish title is Sangre sobre Texas, and also Los Tres de Texas. English title is the translation of that, 3 from Texas, but we know it as $100,000 for Ringo. It's directed by Albert De Martino. That's Alberto De Martino. Story is by Guido Zerli. The screenplay is by Alfonso Balcazar, Giovanni Simonelli, and Jose Antonio de la Loma, all genre experts we've heard from before and after this. Cinematography is by Federico Garcia Loraya. It's in Technicolor and Technoscope. Music is by the great Bruno Nicolai. And the main theme song, Ringo Came to Fight, is sung by Bobby Solo. Running time goes 110 minutes. The main characters are Ward Cluster / Lee Barton / Burton, Lee Burton, and Ringo, that's played by Richard Harrison. Chuck, played by Fernando Sancho. Tom Cherry is played by Gerard Tichy. Luke Cherry is played by Lee Burton. The Mexican general is played by Tomas Torres, and Ellie / Rose is played by Monica Randall. And then there's Sean Cluster or Sean Barton or Sean Burton, played by Loris Lottie. Those are the main characters. A couple of other names that you'll recognize in the cast and recognize on screen is the sheriff is played by Luis Induni, who always plays the sheriff. Jose is played by Paco Sanz, and the Indian Gray Bear is played by Rafael Albaicin. The story goes, Ward Cluster, played by Richard Harrison, a skilled gunman, arrives in Rainbow Valley with a sidekick he's picked up named Chuck, played by Fernando Sancho, whose true identity remains a bit of a mystery, as some sources claim he's an undercover deputy sheriff, or is he just a guardian angel? Anyways, a gang led by Tom Cherry, played by Gerard Tichy, and his brothers dominate the territory. 7 years before, Cherry killed a woman, then blamed the murder on an Indian tribe as Cherry wanted the woman's land. Knowing the boy, played by Loris Lodi, is now being cared for by the Indians, the brothers and their henchmen wipe out the village. Cherry has made a deal to supply 2,000 rifles for a fee of $100,000 to a Mexican general, played by Tomas Torres. but his intention is of seizing the money without delivering the goods. Cluster is a confusing character. Is he the husband of the murdered woman from years past or not? The screenplay makes it very confusing for the viewer, at least in the English version. The child is being raised by a drunk and the Indian woman who has cared for him. She later takes the boy back to her tribe. After several encounters, Ringo eliminates the Cherry Gang and is greeted with gratitude by the Indians who help him. Cluster takes the young boy with him, but it is his son, or is it not? This is available on DVD only in Brazil. It's available on VHS in the USA. I've seen it on, I can't remember, it was either YouTube or Tubi. Talking points. Harrison had been in Duelo Nel, Texas in 1963 before this film was made. That crucial first Western production of Jolly Films and the infamous Pappy and Columbo, who had changed the history of filmmaking with their second Western, Fistful of Dollars, which legend has it Harrison turned down to make this film. Which the film he did finish, $100,000 for Ringo, finished as the sixth highest grossing film in Italy in 65. Not just Westerns, but the sixth highest grossing Italian film in 1965. Richard rides onto the screen while Bobby Solo sings Ringo Came to Fight, but he's apparently only called Ringo in the Italian version. This would be copied with the Sartana and Sabata characters in later spaghetti westerns, where the characters' names appear in the title, but not always do they appear with that name in the film. There's plenty of spaghetti western touches. Harrison stabs a tough in the hand with a fork, kills him, and then his two baddies when he sees them drawing on him in the reflection of a bottle. He uses an organ for his shield when facing a couple of the Cherry brothers. He uses a haystack to hide in to get the drop on Tom Cherry. When he rides into Rainbow Valley, it's reminiscent of Clint riding into town. The Cherry brothers seem to be modeled after the Rojo brothers from A Fistful of Dollars, with Tom Cherry taking the role of Ramon Rojo, the most ruthless of the three. This is primarily filmed in Spain using Spanish stuntmen for Indians and Mexican soldiers. There's plenty of large action scenes in this. I found it pretty interesting. It's not a top grade spaghetti western, but it's well done. As far as actor profiles, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on these because most of these people we've covered multiple times. Anyways, Richard Harrison Jr. was born in Salt Lake City, Utah on May 26, 1935. He was married to actress Loretta Nicholson, born in 43. She's still living, and had his sons Robert Harrison, born in 64, and actor Sebastian Harrison, born in 65. He then married production manager and actress, as we know her, Daria Norman. She played in a couple of spaghetti westerns, the Saint films, and they had a daughter named Francesca, I'm sorry, Joy Holmes, Joi Holmes, who was born in 61. And together they co-founded Gladiator Electronics with his son Sebastian. We covered Harrison in his own special episode, number 62. He appeared in 17 spaghetti westerns. He now lives in retirement. We don't know where because his Malibu home burned down in the fire. He supposedly, which I know he did, had a home in Palm Springs, but did he sell that and just move to Malibu, or is that still where they went back and live to now? Then we have Tom Cherry, played by Gerard Tichy. His real name is Gerard Johannes Alexander Tichy Wanzinski. He was born on March 11, 1920 in Wiedensfeld, North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. He was a film and TV actor married to director Tante Rossi. He appeared in 9 spaghetti westerns and died in Munster, Germany on April 11, 1992 at the age of 72. We covered him previously in episode number 108. Czech is played by Fernando Sancho, who we cover almost every week. We've covered him more than any other actor in the genre. If you want to know more about him, check out a special episode number 61. Then we have Ellie or Rose, played by Monica Randall. She was born Aurora Sarasa on November 18th, 1942, in Barcelona, Spain. She is a director, film, and TV actress and appeared in 14 spaghetti westerns. She received the Tabernas de Cine Award in 2013 at the Almeria Western Film Festival. We covered her in episode number 6. Luke Cherry was played by Lee Burton. Lee Burton is actually Guido's Lollobrigida, who was born in Rome on September 4th, 1928. He's the cousin of actress Gina Lollobrigida. Usually billed as Lee Burton, he was an assistant director, film and TV actor. He also was a race car driver when not filming. Burton appeared in 15 spaghetti westerns and died at the age of 85 on January 21st, 2014. The Mexican general is played by Tomas Torres. He was born in Toledo, Spain on September of 1928. He was or is a film and TV actor. I can find no record of his death, so he could be still living. He appeared in 9 spaghetti westerns. If he's still living, he's 96 years old. Then we have Stan Burton, played by Loris Lottie, Lotty in the credits. His real name is Loris Lottie, Loddi, and he was born in Rome on December 3rd, 1957. He's a theater, film, TV, and voice actor. His acting career began with an appearance in Mario Bava's 1961 film The Invaders, followed by his role as Caesarean son of Caesar and Cleopatra in 1963's Cleopatra, starring Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. He appeared in 6 spaghetti westerns, although it seems like more. And he's probably best remembered as Tim Brewster in The Hills Run Red with Thomas Hunter and Henry Silva. Loris is still active today. He was the Italian voice of Mowgli in Disney's The Jungle Book. We previously covered him in episode number 77. Okay, that'll do it for $100,000 for Ringo. And now we'll move on to whatever became of Mike Marshall. Okay, Michael William Marshall was born in Hollywood, California on September 13th, 1944. He was the only child of American actor-director William Marshall, who was born in 1917 and died in 1994, and French actress Michelle Morgan. She was born in 1920 and died in 2016, and was the stepson of French film director and writer Gerard Ouray. He was born in 1919 and died in 2006, as well as half-brother to actress, screenwriter, and film director Toni Marshall. She was born in 1951 and died in 2020. When his parents divorced, his father made sure that he received an American education. Mike began then studying law, but dreamed of becoming an actor like his parents. After college, he joined his mother in Paris and began to take drama classes with Raymond Griard, and later appeared in his first film, Potato, in France under the direction of Alfred Thomas. He had already appeared in 2 films from overseas. The first was directed by his father and the second by Vincente Minnelli. Gerard Ouray, Marshall's stepfather, offered him a role of a young Canadian airman in La Grande Vadrouille and as a doctor in Les Coupes de Parapluie. Marshall had a long, low-key career as a character actor in French cinema. On stage, he appeared in 4 French plays and appeared in a dozen television series, and was featured in a supporting role as U.S. Marine Colonel Scott in the 007 film Moonraker, 1979, starring Roger Moore. Because of his strong resemblance to Terence Hill, Marshall was offered and starred in 2 spaghetti westerns. The first, Death Rides Along, was in 1967, where he played Bobby Idaho Kent. And in the same year, I'll Sell My Skin Dearly as Shane. He was also the voice of the Vulture in the film 1991 Euro Western Jesuit Joe. Marshall was married 3 times and was the father of 6 children, including model actress Sarah Marshall and actor Peter Morgan Marshall. Mike Marshall died from a lung disease in Normandy, France on June 1st, 2005. He was 60 years old. I'll post his filmography after this episode is done on both Facebook and YouTube. Okay, now we'll move along to Who Are Those Guys and Alfred Thomas. Okay, Alfred Thomas was born in Hepzibah, Georgia on August 23rd, 1916. He was the son of Eli Thomas and Isabella Moss. He had a half-brother, Reverend Moses Thomas, and 2 half-sisters, Susie and Adrena, and another half-brother, Elijah Thomas. By 1920, the family was living in Augusta, Georgia, where Alfred graduated high school and then moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where his brother was a preacher. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1942. By 1950, he was in New York City and he began acting in Italy in 1953 in Canzone Appassionata as a piano player. There was also a record label and musical club in Rome, Italy called Folk Studio, founded in 1961 by Harold Bradley Jr., who was born in 29 and died in 2021. Harold also appeared in One Spaghetti Western. Bradley was an ex-professional football player for the Cleveland Browns and the Philadelphia Eagles. He was also an American actor, having played the role of Nathan in the 1967 spaghetti western Days of Vengeance with Peter Lee Lawrence. He was a musician and painter also. The club hosted artists from many styles and new tendencies and helped launch the careers of several singer-songwriters. The club's owner, Giancarlo Cesaroni, also created a record label called Folk Studio that released albums by artists who performed at the club. The backup singers at the club were called Folk Studio Spiritual Singers and consisted of Harold Bradley, Inez Carmona, Yvette Drew, Archie Savage, who we remember from Death Rides a Horse, Keith West, and Alfred Thomas. While in Rome, Alfred became a character actor, appearing in over 45 films. Among those films were 8 spaghetti westerns, such as Sugar Cult, where he plays Hunt Power's assistant Sammy. In Two Pistols and a Coward with Richard Weiler, he plays the baker's servant. In Twice a Judas, he plays Sam. He also appears in Return of Hallelujah with George Hilton. He plays Tom. And in 1972's Life is Tough, A Providence with Tomas Milian as Thomas. Alfred lived in Rome, Italy for over 30 years, passing away on May 11, 1987. He also appeared in jungle films and even bigger roles, such as The Shoes of the Fisherman in 1968 with Anthony Quinn and Laurence Olivier as an African cardinal voting for a new pope. He's pictured sitting next to Anthony Quinn and had speaking parts. He was also in Rollerball in 1975 with starring James Caan, where he plays a skating instructor. When not acting or singing, Thomas appeared in Photoromancy magazines. Like I said, Alfred Thomas appeared in 8 spaghetti westerns over a 6-year period from 66 to 72. I'll post those again on Facebook and on YouTube when we get done with this episode. Next, we'll move on to the film of the week, and it's Return of Ringo. Okay, Return of Ringo. This is a 65 Italian-Spanish film co-production. The Italian title is Il Ritorno di Ringo. The Spanish title is El Ritorno di Ringo. Alternate English titles are The Angry Gun, probably a video title, and Blood at Sundown, also probably a video or DVD title. We know it as The Return of Ringo. It's directed by Duccio Tessari, with a story by Duccio Tessari and Fernando Di Leo. The screenplay is by Tessari, Di Leo, and Alfonso Balcazar. Cinematography is by Francisco Marin. It's an Eastman color and Technoscope. Music is by the great Ennio Morricone. And there's two songs. The main song, Return of Ringo, and La Mia Gente, which is featured in the movie, is sung by Mauricio Graf. There's also a couple of nondescript songs in there which they don't give any credit to. The main stars are Captain Montgomery Brown, or Ringo, played by Montgomery Wood. Don Francisco Paco Fuentes is played by George Martin. Esteban Fuentes is played by Fernando Sancho. Helen Brown, or Hallie Fitzgerald, is played by Hallie Hammond. Rosita is played by Nieves Navarro. Sheriff Carson is played by Antonio Casas. Mio Sotis, or Morning Glory, is played by Pajarito. Okay, the story goes Captain Montgomery Ringo Brown, played by Juliana Gemma, returns from the Civil War only to find that his town of Membres has been overrun by the Mexican Fuentes gang, led by Esteban, played by Fernando Sancho, and Paco, played by George Martin. To his horror, he also finds that his wife, Hallie, is played by Lorella De Luca, has been taken by Paco with the intent to marry her. Ringo goes undercover as a Mexican peasant and goes into town. There he works for the eccentric florist. Through this, he is able to find out more about the gang, and he also finds out that he has a daughter. When the Fuentes gang fakes Ringo's funeral so Paco can finally marry Hallie, it's the last straw for Ringo, and he plots his revenge. Ringo is able to rally some of the townspeople and his friends, and they pretty much wipe out the Fuentes gang. He is reunited for good with his wife and daughter. This is available on DVD in France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Portugal, Spain, Argentina, and the USA. It's on Blu-ray in England, the USA, France, Germany, and Japan, and on YouTube in Spanish, Italian, and English subtitles. Very popular movie, you can tell by how many countries it's been released in. As far as talking points are concerned, after the huge success of A Pistol for Ringo, a sequel, basically in name only, was realized with many of the same actors and crew members. Like several spaghetti westerns, it was based on a Greek tragedy, and this one is based on the Odyssey. Here we see Gemma in the Ulysses role, dyeing his hair and disguising himself as a Mexican peon to try and find out what has happened to his home and wife after returning from the Civil War. Gemma, still billed as Montgomery Wood, is really given an opportunity to show his acting depth compared to A Pistol for Ringo, where his dialogue was basic sarcastic replies and witticisms. Yet he gets to show off his athleticism and gun handling. The scene of him breaking into the church at the wedding ceremony, announcing his return and backing away into the wind and the dust, is one of the most memorable scenes of the genre. He's almost a specter, saying, "I've come back, I've come back." John Crummett often points out to me that in the Mintex video, he's actually billed as Montgomery Ward, a popular 5 and 10 store here in the United States at the time. Martin, like Robert Hundar, in their early Spanish westerns were usually played heroes, but in the early Italian-Spanish co-productions, they became the villain. Martin eventually became a hero and leading man in these co-productions, but Hundar remained a secondary and villain. Of course, Fernando Sancho was again at his best as the dastardly villain. While almost comical in A Pistol for Ringo, here he's pure classically evil. This is one of the spaghetti westerns you should introduce to your girlfriend or wife because it's very romantic, and with the addition of the little girl, it should be perfect fodder for the female crowd. Ennio Morricone offers one of his best and memorable scores, which really adds to the feeling of the film. The film was made in Fraga, Spain for the most part, instead of the more familiar Almeria landscapes and locations. also seen as the Balcazar Aspogos town set. Okay, as far as actor profiles go, Captain Montgomery Brown, or Ringo, is played by Montgomery Wood. That's Juliana Gemma, originally billed in the genre as Montgomery Wood. He was born in Rome on September 2nd, 1938, and became one of the leading actors of the genre, starring in 17 spaghetti westerns. He was also a well respected sculptor and tragically died in a car accident on October 1st, 2013, in Civita Vecchia, Italy, at the age of 75. We covered him extensively in his own episode number 41. Don Francisco Paco Fuentes was played by George Martin. Martin was born Francisco Martinez Salero in Barcelona, Spain on September 18, 1937. He died of COVID-19 in Miami, Florida on September 1st, 2021. He was 3 weeks short of turning 84. Martin appeared in 19 spaghetti westerns. We covered him in his own special episode number 45. Esteban Fuentes was played by Fernando Sancho. He was born Fernando Sancho Les on January 7th, 1916, in Zaragoza, Spain. He appeared in 60 spaghetti westerns. That's why we cover him almost every week. And he died of liver failure after an operation to remove a tumor on October 31st, 1990, in Madrid. He was 74. For more information on Fernando, check his special episode number 9. And last but not least, we have Helen Brown, or Hallie Fitzgerald, played by Hallie Hammond. That's an alias for Lorella De Luca. She was born in Florence, Italy on September 17, 1940, and was married to Duccio Tessari from 1971 till his death in 1994. She was the mother of assistant director, actress, writer Federica Tessari, born in 68, and actress Fiorenza Tessari, also born in 68. Lorella died in Rome from a brain tumor on January 9, 2013. She was 73. Her only other spaghetti western was A Pistol for Ringo. Okay, let's move on to CD or LPs of the week. Okay, I'm not going to get into a lot of these specifically because Pistol for Ringo and Return of Ringo were released a dozen times. But I'll just give you a brief history of them. The composer is Bruno Nicolai. There was an Italian 45 released in 1965 and 2 LPs in 66. Then another in 1994. In 2002 and 2006, another CDs were released. These were basically, if you see one, you see them all. The covers were the same. Anyways, this is one of the CDs released on A Pistol for Ringo. As you can see, it says A Pistol for Ringo, but on the back it's got both scores listed. And the solo singer on these was Bobby Solo. I'll talk to you a little bit about him. He was born Roberto Satti, S-A-T-T-I, in Rome on March 18, 1945. He was a teen idol, and in 1964 he recorded the song Una lacrima sul viso, which means a tear on your face, which was the first million-selling record in Italy and over 3 million worldwide. Solo has been married twice and has 4 children. He moved to the United States with his second wife. He sang the main theme for another spaghetti western, My Gun is Fast, in 1965 for Renegade Gunfighter. He is still performing today. The other score I want to talk about is the $100,000 for Ringo. This was released on an LP in 1965, also on a 45. and then it was released on CD. There's the most complete one in 2004 and again in 2006. As far as that one is concerned, let's screw that up. Bobby Solo is the singer for $100,000 for Ringo, and for Return of Ringo, it's Maurizio Graf. He was born Maurizio Attanasio in Gorizia, Friuli, Venezia, Giulia, Italy in 1941. He was a singer and film actor married to a woman named Silvia. He first sang with the Italian group I Vagabondi and then worked with several film composers during the 1960s and also appeared in films as an actor. Graf sang the main theme songs for Killer Adios in '68, A Pistol for Ringo and Return of Ringo in '65, Killer Caliber 32 in '67, where he sings Amica Colt in '67, Killer Adios in '68, and The Wild and the Dirty, he sings Find That Man in '68. After his singing career, he worked by men's fashions. Graf died in Rome on October 25th, 2019. He was 78. There's a video, I think I mentioned it before on YouTube, where he sings with the Spaghetti Western Orchestra, and he sings The Return of Ringo about a year or two before he passed away. If you can find that, watch it. It's great. The Spaghetti Western Orchestra always does a great job on spaghetti Western themes. Okay? Okay, let's get into the autograph of the week. Autograph of the week is by Martin Botcher. Martin Botcher did the majority of all the scores for the Winnetou films. These guys appeared in a lot of film festivals over there in Germany, and friends of mine were able to get autographs of some of the actors and the composers. A lot of times composers don't pop up at these, so I'm glad I was able to get one of Botcher's. Okay, how about the book of the week? Okay, book of the week. This is an old German book that I was able to pick up when I started getting into spaghetti westerns. It's called Western Lexicon. It's by Joe Hembus. Came out in 1976. Has 777 pages. It's in German, which we don't care about because it lists all the films. There are pictures in here, and you can get a good filmography on the films and who were in them. It's not very complete, but it's got listings of not only spaghetti westerns, German films, American films, and some other European films. So if you can find a copy, it's worth picking up. Okay, let me show you some posters now. So we'll go into Tom's poster attic. Okay, first one we've got here, and those are all pretty big. $100,000 for Ringo. German poster. Let's see, I don't know what that, didn't write it on the back what that is. Does that mean, Believe it or not, that's a Mexican poster. Okay, now these are the really big ones. This is a French poster for The Return of Ringo. Yeah, I know, difficult to show that one. Then we've got the Belgium poster, which is more our speed as far as size is concerned. Then I've got a rare one here. That's Finnish poster, and that will finish our Tom's poster attic. Okay, let's go to news of the week. Okay, there's a new German DVD of 30 Winchesters for El Diablo. That was directed by Gianfranco Baldanello and starred Carl Moner, Topsy Collins, John Heston, Jose Torres, and Mila Stanek. This was released on January 17th on the Western Classics label. It's in PAL, it's in Italian, English, and German. Doesn't mention anything about subtitles. It runs 87 minutes. Extras included reconstructed German theatrical version. The theatrical version runs 81 minutes, so there's like 6 minutes of extra film on this. There's a trailer and a photo gallery. Then a new German 4K of Leichen Flastern Seinen Weg, which is The Great Silence, 1968, was released on January 23rd on the Film Jewellen label. It's a limited 2-disc media book edition, and it's in German, English, Italian, and French with German, English, and French subtitles. Extras include a 20-page booklet, an audio commentary by Howard Hughes and Richard New, KNEW, audio commentary by Alex Cox, intro to the film by Jean-Pierre Dionnet, forward by Jean-Baptiste Dorette, Grindhouse HD version, several featurettes, 2 alternate endings, scene-specific commentary by Olivier Perret, interview with Klaus Kinski, Western Italian style, that's the Frank Wolf documentary. There's also the French opening and closing credits and trailers in French, Italian, English, and German. So that's quite a collection on that one. Don't know what the price is, but it's got to be pretty pricey. Okay, does it for the releases. There's no books, no CDs. We'll move on to Boot Hill. First, we have Phyllis Dalton. She was a 2-time Oscar-winning British costume designer. Phyllis Dalton died on January 9th at the age of 99. She was born in London on October 11th, 1925. Dalton's 2 Oscar wins came nearly a quarter century apart, first for her work on David Lean's 1965 historical epic Dr. Zhivago, and then for Henry V in 1989. Dalton was also costume designer on Lawrence of Arabia. In 1962, Dalton was the costume designer on the Euro-Western 1979's Eagle's Wing. Then we have Klaus Schischen. This was published just this week. The German stuntman and supporting actor Klaus Schischen, who worked at the Karl May Festival and appeared in 17 of the plays, lived within walking distance of the festival grounds. He was credited with 29 films and TV series, but probably appeared uncredited in over 100 films. The stuntman also worked with Hark Bohm and the U.S. director Richard Brooks. His appearances at the Karl May Festival include Der Prince in 1970 as Baumgarten, Old Surehand in 75 as Whitefeather, Winnetou 1 in 76 as Bayo, Winnetou 2 in 76 as Bayo. Der Schwarz Mustang in 77 as Aid and White Feather. Old Firehand in 79 as White Feather. And Der Schatz in Silbersea as Captain Howans and Donner. In these plays, a lot of times these guys played multiple roles. Then we have Giorgio Favretto. He was an Italian actor, voice actor, dubbing director, and Italian dialogue writer. Giorgio Favretto, who was an active in theater, cinema, and television since the mid 60s, died in Anguillara Sabazia, Rome, Lazio, Italy. On January 23rd, he was 83. He was born in Rijeka, Croatia on December 5th, 1941, and graduated in 64 from the National Academy of Dramatic Art. Silvio D'Amico in Rome. On television, he played the role of Maximilian in the 1966 television drama The Count of Monte Cristo. The bulk of his career was in voice acting and dubbing as a director, dialogue writer, and voice dubber. Giorgio dubbed several actors, including, among others, Lee Majors, Mitchell Ryan, Luis Guzman, Raul Hernandez, and David Clennon. He was the Italian voice of Raymond Harmsdorf in 1987's Euro Western Thunder Warrior 2 and the sequel Thunder Warrior 3, he dubbed Horst Schoen. And last but not least, just this came to my attention this week, so I thought I would let you guys know. Isanoa Runachagua came to my attention that he passed away in 2022. He was 90. Born in Peru, he acted in only westerns and made 24 of them. Where and exactly when he died is unknown, but his son lives in France, and I'm guessing he lived and died there with him. I've tried to contact him because I do have his email from Michael Ferguson, but I haven't gotten a response. I've sent him an email in English and in French. He's easily recognizable with that face, but he's probably remembered as one of the three assassins hired by Tuco to eliminate Blondie when he's cleaning his gun in his hotel room in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He also has a nice role as Rios in 1967's Payment in Blood with Guy Madison and Ed Burns, and he also plays Choctaw in 1967's Vengeance with Richard Harrison. Okay, that'll do it for this week. So until next time, this has been a Roberto Genesi production, and we'll see you on down the road. Adios, amigos.